Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Marcus here again, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. Today I was watching a video with my man, Farrakhan. He didn't do a long speech, he didn't do a long talk. He just wanted to address President Trump. And he mentioned to him that the prophets have made prophecies and they will never be wrong. And that they had indicated a major event that is to happen in the future. And that they were warning whomever might be in power at that time to try to hold off as long as they possibly can to prevent such a devastating atrocity to the people of the world. They called this Armageddon, and it is referred to as the making and the execution of World War III. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Farrakhan has extraordinary information. He has access to it. But this particular statement, I totally concur because I have the same information. It is not from something that I heard or read, but it is something that the Spirit guides me to understand, believe, and to share. And I think it is very important to all of the world. There was a gentleman that lived some time ago. His name was Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King said that he had gone to the mountaintop. He had looked over and he saw the promised land. And that we as a people, maybe the reference was black people, but I would like to think that he was talking about all people, would one day get to the promised land. Now this is perhaps a presentation reference to the Dr. King's dream. Had I had a chance to speak to that occasion, I would say a little bit more than that. And like Farrakhan, if I had the kind of contact that he has, a 1,000,000-man march, something would be happening in this country that would affect the world. But I have none of that. All I have is a voice to you today to say the things that I have been given to say. And I have been speaking to everybody that I possibly can. And so this message, I'd like to dedicate it to the 7 continents. I'd like to dedicate it to Africa. I'd like to dedicate it to Antarctica, Asia, to Australia, to Europe, to North America, and South America. And more specifically, I'd like to address it to the peoples of the great city of New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Nevada, Texas, Chicago, to Russia and Moscow. And I would like to also direct it to Vatican City, Italy, to France and Paris, Marseille and Lyon and Nice, to Germany, Berlin and Hamburg and Munich and Cologne. I'd like to address it to Cape Town, to Johannesburg. I'd like to address it to the people of South Africa, Kenya and Ghana. I'd like to address this message to the people of England, to the people of Ireland, and to the people of Scotland and Wales and Birmingham and London. Today, I ask all of you people of the world, to pay attention. Many of you today or any time in the future spend your time thinking about proms, thinking about graduations, thinking about class reunions or family reunions or karaoke or parties. Many of you are thinking about What are you going to do tomorrow? And in the midst of all of these thoughts that you might be having through your mind at any given time, in the matter of a moment, your whole world can come tumbling down. Bombs, missiles can fall on your infrastructure, tearing it up, ripping it apart, killing people all over your community, homes being destroyed, businesses being destroyed, all over the earth, in every place where human beings live. Any of this can happen at any moment, at any time. But what would allow this to happen? What maketh such to happen? The possibilities for its existence is people. People in power. People who live for the sake of power and have no compassion whatsoever for human beings beyond what they can be used for to give them and to magnify their power. And to have that threatened, they are willing to do any act of evil, any act of murder, killing, to maintain that. And yet I have to say to you, the people of all of these places I've mentioned here, to pay attention. Because the power that these individuals possess has been given not by the divine Almighty, but by you, the people. Some of them have just put themselves in power and threatened you to not to object. And for reasons many of us might know, you have accepted that. Many people across the continents and world have been so deceived till they think they're doing the right things. They think that the people in power really care about them, because how could they not care about you? You are human beings. Of course they care about you. And anybody that comes along and say that they don't care about you have got to be out of their minds. But I would like to refer to you, ladies and gentlemen, about all of the killings that have been going on across this earth during a period of time. Nearly everywhere, millions of people have been slaughtered by other people. Some have been made known, others have been kept secret. The killing fields of Cambodia, Germany, what's been happening in other places of Vietnam, what's been happening in Asia, the things that happen in China, the things that happen in Africa, the things that happen in the United States of America. All of these things about killing, ladies and gentlemen, for the sake of power. Now, if you have the power to change things, what do? First of all, you recognize that you love yourself, that you want to protect yourself. And if you want that power that you have for yourself to be magnified, all you have to do is look at the others, other people outside of you, and look at them in such a way that what you see for yourself is the same identical thing that you see for them. And all of a sudden your power is magnified. It is magnified. And all of those powers put together across the globe is magnified. There is no power on the face of the earth that can stand against a power such as that. A people who have awakened, a people who have made up their minds that they're not going to accept evil. They're not going to accept the threat of evil in their lives any longer. And to assure that they're going to protect one another by doing and seeing for one another that which they want done and seen for them. And they're going to employ that as if it is God coming to them and going to one another. The Spirit of the Almighty living God. Recognizing that it's not a leader anywhere. It's not a power anywhere outside of God Almighty that created the earth. And all of the access that the earth has that is for the benefit of the human race, it all came from the almighty power that you cannot see, but it is evidence because it exists. You think about the abilities that humankind has to utilize the gifts and talents that they've been given by a maker that put them here on the earth that they cannot see. And how they can extract from the earth all of the resources necessary. And how they can engage themselves and create their survival resources: food, clothing, shelter, education, healthcare. And then the cream on the top, all of the other things that we have the benefit of that is not essential for our survival, but is here to make life easier and more interesting. All of that comes from you, the people, the God Almighty who prepared it this way. Not from leadership. Leadership supposedly is there to protect you, to guide you, to make sure that things are walking in a smooth and honest way. But we have recognized through our living that that is not what happens. We know this because in every place where human beings live, in every place where there is power maintained by people, there are some who got and there are some who don't, which is the baby boom for crime and violence and terrorism and exploitation and war. And so we understand these things not just in America but throughout the 7 continents of the earth. Wherever people live, we recognize these things. And by reclaiming our own power and magnifying that power with our respect for one another, we only, my friends, we only accept authority from a power that we cannot see. Not a two-legged man, regardless of his color or the texture of his hair, or a woman, or a group of people. None of that ever again. And if it is to happen, let it happen thousands of years from now. And the responsibility for the maintenance of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness be in the hands of others, but others who have been guided and taught by what we here have made up our minds to do today. Let us make up our minds today that there will not be a World War III, whatever the pretext is. And there are many thinkers around the globe who watch these kinds of things. And they see what's happening in Syria. They see what the President of the United States is talking and lying about. They see what China, they see what Russia, they see what all these players are doing. And they are trying to conjure up an excuse to start a war for a great big power for someone else that will leave you dead. Leave you dead. So I'm asking you children who can hear me, get on your parents and wake your parents up. Get them involved, not just in making sure that you can party, not just making sure that you can wear tennis shoes or you can go to a game or a basketball game or that you can play video or that you can dress up and go out and date a lady or a lady date a man or a man date a man and a woman date a woman so that you can say you had a good time, but so that you could live and enjoy what this mighty world has for you. And so if I was Dr. King, I would ask the people everywhere, when you leave where we're speaking to you today, go back to where you're from and you engage yourselves in activities that would promote exactly what Dr. King was talking about. If I was speaking to you after Farrakhan has gathered 1 million march, I would tell them, all millions of you, go back and engage yourselves in the activities of the day. Promote life, promote health by spreading the truth, spreading love in the things that you say and in the things that you do, and represent the power that we cannot see outside of what we ourselves execute. And I don't think that that is a harmful thing. It is not illegal. It is not wrong or evil for me to stand before you, the people of the world today, and say that the life that you choose, the continuation of that life, is a choice that you must make. And that choice must be made today, not next week. Bombs were dropped just the other day. We don't know what they were dropped for. We know what information we have been given, but can we count on that? And even if we can count on it, there was damage that was done, damage that can cause a reciprocation that will cause other things that will lead it to grow. And when we hear these kinds of things, all we hear is intimidation. What we're going to do, how we're going to do it, you better not do it, or what the consequences are going to be. What does that lead? It doesn't lead to anything like life. If it instills fear, it's only for a while. And everybody who is fearful goes someplace and recoup themselves and come back ready. Get a baseball bat or a stick as big as anybody else's. That's what the whole thing about the nuclear buildup is all about. And that is nothing good. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we look at our leadership everywhere across the globe, and we see the dangers. We see the hypocrisy. We see the lack of understanding and compassion for one another. We see that. And some might say it is a reflection of what we are, what we've been taught to become. And our leadership can be nothing other than that. But there have been men, ladies and gentlemen, and ladies who have come before us and shared the truth with us, the truth that led them to their death. Do you think for one moment that they would put their lives on the line and share these informations if they did not care? Do you think they would not, that they would put their lives on the line if it did not have promise, if it did not have hope, if it did not mean anything? Do you believe they would put themselves on the cross? Do you think they would believe in having their heads blown off if it were not true? And yet I must say to you that for those of you who have walked and understand the truth, each and every last one of you, wherever you might be, will be just as willing to suffer any sacrifice for humanity, for love, so that you and every last one of us might recognize that even though we can't see God, even though we can't touch God, we know that God is real because He lives in us, and the evidence is in how we have changed ourselves and how we respond one unto the other, and the reflection of the sun that shines from the activities in which we engage ourselves in through our loving one another. And so if you got a dream today, make that dream real and active by doing something. If you come together in groups that really mean something, you got a magnitude, then exercise that. Rejoice in the truth. Rejoice in the truth. Rejoice in the truth. Even though it might not be welcome, even though it might not be the thing that people want to engage themselves in, you rejoice in it. Because those who are living in darkness cannot understand just yet. Words alone are not sufficient. Action is the thing that makes the sun shine, that makes the rain harvest the grass. It is action. And I say to you once again, ladies and gentlemen, all over the world, if we do not take these actions today, if we do not take these actions now, Armageddon is knocking on the door. World War III is in the making right at this moment while we speak. But we can change it. And only we can change it, because in the hands of the leaders of the world, it's destined to be. They will have it no other way. So I say to you, pay attention. Pay attention. The proms are important. The dance are important. The games are important. Having fun is very important. But it is not more important than being able to be around, to be engaged in these things. And so when our fun is threatened, let us make sure that we put aside the ambition, the hunger for that, and make sure that we direct our attention to that which will allow it to maintain forever, at least the thousands of years to come. And then we can sleep at night with our windows open, not worried about a gun, not worried about borders, not worried about who's crossing here or who's crossing there, because it is we, the people, who are looking after one another. We don't need a wall. We are building bridges, bridges of love, bridges of understanding for one another, bridges that says what I got, you got, and what I need, you need, and what we can trade, we will trade, because it is now the time for hell to go to hell and for heaven to be born. I want to thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me this your time. It is a moment like this that we must come together, not tomorrow, but right now. Thank you.